A lot of people have a lot of ideas about what swords would
or wouldn't do.
So today, we're gonna try some of those out.
We have a lightly used ballistic gel torso.
So today we're gonna have some fun.
We're gonna start off small with our small sword. This is not sharp, but it is very pointy. And this whole thing only weighs about 600 grams. So a lot of people think it wouldn't do all that much. So let's find out how much it would actually do.
Oh. As you can see, that sucked.
That was also not much power. I just extended my arm and I didn't even really lunge that much.
That's really scary. You don't think about it. Did it go? I mean, you didn't press. It went all the way. Oh my God.
It went all the way through. I didn't even
crap.
press.
Holy crap. You can see it out the back here, right there. You didn't even press. It went all the way through.
I just extended my arm.
That's insane.
What's wild to note is the ribs that are designed to protect you, it slipped through the ribs, so the ribs didn't stop anything.
Small sword, serious business.
Ah, ooh, oh.
Next up is the rapier, another thrusty boy. This can cut, but this specific rapier is completely dull, except it has a tip. Not the best tip, but we're gonna see what it does. Now this one flexed more than I would have wanted it to. So a lot of the power of this shot was lost because the rapier flexed, and that has to do with how bendy this specific rapier is. This is bendy even for sparring grid.
You can see it right there.
The small sword did do a better job of thrusting all the way through, and that is par for the course because the small sword was better at thrusting, but the rapier still did a lot, and this is not a sharp rapier and has a lot of flex. That flex means it didn't go in as deep as it would have if it was a little bit stronger. Let's pull it out. Oh, it's so nasty. Don't demonetize me.
Everybody knows the katana, the best sword at cutting ever. So how good is it at thrusting things?
That still sucked.
The collarbone saved it. So the ribs worked as intended. It skidded off the first one into the collarbone.
Yeah, but I think they're still dead.
Probably not bleeding profusely, probably not dead.
I don't know, that's pretty deep, and I think it got some lung with it. I think
little
that's
bit
pretty bad.
Yeah.
No, actually, no, you're right, you're
Yeah.
right. It's not as deep as I thought it was. You
Saved by the rib cage.
You can't quite see it as well because of the glare here, but it is completely stopped by the rib cage. Now that's gonna be terrible. I think you broke a bone, but the rib did what it's supposed to do.
It's stuck in the bone. There it is. Yeah, rib is unpunctured.
Next up is the longsword, a certified thrusty boy. Let's see how different this is from the katana. It went through the rib. So this actually was stopped, not by the rib, but by the body moving backwards. And it wouldn't have been able to move backwards as much if this person was actually anchored to the ground. I think this is a really bad wound. It cracked through the rib and it hit the lung. It hit something. I think it might have hit one of the supports.
I think it's hitting the back of the shoulder blade. Stuck in the shoulder blade.
Oh, the tip did get bent a little bit. That's how it happens though. That's what swords do. So when I thrust in, it did dull the tip slightly from the needle point that it was, and it gave it a slight bend at the very, very tip, but I was able to just push it back with my finger. Now, this is probably a softer steel because I can do that. If it was a harder steel, it wouldn't have bent in the first place, but this stabbed someone right in a very hard bone and it didn't damage the sword.
Now we're gonna move on to some cuts. First off, we're gonna do a quick snap scalping cut. This isn't designed to do massive damage, it's just designed to hit the top of the head and cause bleeding, and we're gonna see how bad it really is.
Oh shoot! I think he fractured his head.
Oh, that quick snap cut, I didn't even power it deep, I powered past, and it still cut all the way through the skin into the skull. I don't think it fractured it, but his skull is not happy.
Dang, if you actually look, it indented into the skull itself. So there's a cut all the way down into the skull, and then the skull has a pretty deep cut in it. So now we're gonna power it up a little bit, and I'm just gonna give it a nice cut. It's not gonna be a big pull all the way through cut, but it's gonna have some power behind it, and we're gonna see what it does to the head. Oh, shoot. I shattered his skull. That was not a hard cut. That was a standard sparring level cut. So you can see.
Oh my gosh, that's so much worse than it looked.
The brain is oozing out. It's got a lot of blood in there.
His entire skull is cleaved open.
Before he goes, that was a normal sparring level cut. I did not power that up. There was barely any pull through. We're gonna go to that tware before it's too late.
Next up, we're gonna do a Zverhau. This is a super powerful cut that everybody loves to use in Longsword. So let's see how great it really is.
Jeez.
That's through his whole skull.
That is insane. That is insane, all the way through the skull.
What's wild is I did put some power in that, but I've thrown harder virtues than that one in sparring.
Okay, we have to be honest. We were a little bit nervous. This is expensive. We only have so many tries to do something on this, and we don't want to hurt our sword, so we've been
babying it a little bit.
Yeah, we're under. It's going everywhere, man.
Oh my gosh.
There's so much blood. We've been underswinging. We have been not hitting this as hard as we would actually even in sparring. My cuts have not been as hard as my sparring cuts or my sparring thrusts. And they're doing so much damage. It's insane. I think that people underestimate we underestimated what swords could do.
I knew what this would do because we can cut Tatami and other things, but this is more than I thought.
I'm just dead immediately. Death instantly. And we're not even trying that hard.
This is wild.
Let's move on while we still got him. So we don't think the head has that many more hits on it, so we're gonna finish it out with a bang. We're gonna do a classic Zornhau. We're gonna do it from this angle for two reasons. One, it's a better camera angle, and also this side is totally destroyed. So, here we go. We needed a bigger tarp.
David, you made a mess.
I'm sorry.
Let's show the left side.
Let's show.
What?
It's gone.
Oh my gosh.
His head came off. It's over there.
His skull is on the ground.
Did not hit it that hard either. It's so much more than I thought it was gonna be. You didn't get enough tarp, Clark.
I didn't think the head would explode.
It's all over my face. Now we're gonna try out a Zornhau. We're gonna be aiming for the crook of the neck right here, and we're just gonna see what happens. So here we go. So it's hard to tell what happened here because this is already slightly used. This part to come apart, but if you come over here and you look on this side, these cuts went all the way through the soft tissue and impacted pretty deep into the actual neck. So that's bad.
We're gonna do that same cut with the katana. I'm gonna aim for the shoulder right here, right into the collarbone. I think I broke his collarbone.
You did. You got pretty deep. So while the longsword went more for the neck, the katana went more for the shoulder, and it went all the way down and broke the collarbone. That went so deep. So gory. Please, if you like what we do here, consider supporting us on Patreon because this video is definitely not getting
That
monetized.
went so deep. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna throw a Zver to the ribs. Say I parried here, I was parried here, and I'm setting up for this third hit right here, which is a common thing that happens in sparring. All right, so that went through to the bone, but not into the bone that hard.
It's a really deep cut, but it's not going to penetrate the ribs, though I think that it did hit the ribs. There might be a chance of breaking them. So next we're gonna do another stab with the longsword, but this time we're gonna be targeting the shoulder pocket right here because this is something we're supposed to do. This would be his weapon hand, and I would want to pin this here. I just wanna see how well this goes in. It did exactly what I wanted it to do. Unfortunately, it turned our dummy. So we're gonna have to fix that.
Definitely into the shoulder, controlling that arm. You can see it through.
This is one of the things we can't replicate with sparring because this shot is designed to go deep into this tissue here and disrupt the muscles, which stops somebody from using their weapon arm. Our swords are designed to bend, so this doesn't actually stop people as well. But if this actually happened, there's no way you're throwing that next hit. Next, we're gonna test out some Saber stuff. Now, honestly, I'd like to go for the head or the hands, but he doesn't have hands and his head is done. So we're gonna go for the ribs because this is a pretty common shot. You parry here and you cut to this angle. So let's see what it can actually do. I think it's a lot like yours. It went down to the rib and then stopped.
Ribs are good at doing their job.
Ribs absolutely are good at doing their job. They're stopping a lot of stuff. Now you might get a cracked rib from this, but it definitely stopped me from getting into the guts.
This is why thrusts are more lethal than cuts.
I still don't know how much more fighting you want to do.
You're probably done. So we've tested a thrust into the rib cage. Now we're gonna do a thrust into the guts. I actually stopped the thrust because I ran into something and I didn't know what, and I didn't want to damage our sword.
You ran into some sort of spinal thing because it's not coming out the back. Oh, I can see it. I don't know if you can see this, viewers, but it hit the spine in the back. And it's embedded in the bone, and you put almost no power into that.
I also consciously stopped putting power into it when I ran into the spine.
Not only that, but the last time we filmed this, it fell over. So yeah, it would take not very much pressure at all to totally just, you're dead. Now the longsword messed him up real good, but I want you to see the difference between something that is designed to cut and thrust and something that is min-maxing the thrust. I'm barely pushing, and it's just still going. It's just still going.
All the way through.
I could have easily kept going too, but it would have been silly at this point. There are treatises that say what you should do is stab them and then run them all the way up to the hilt. Like, this is insane. This is insane. It was so easy. It's so easy to kill somebody. This has been a kind of a messed up video, and I don't know how I feel about it, if I'm honest.
I hit the stand.
You hit the stand, yeah.
What we're gonna do now is some general saber cuts to the shoulders. This shoulder doesn't have any bones or anything in it. This is just to show how debilitating an arm cut would be.
That's wild. That's so deep. That's like a full finger knuckle deep of, this looks so gross. That's just insane. Yeah, these are so deep.
yeah.
This is so deep. It would just go so deep into you. And like, you might not, I didn't hit anything like squishy or gross, but that's muscles. That deep, you're severing muscles which control the arm, right? That's the problem that's going on here. I'm just gonna do some thrusts onto this side to see how some of the other rapier thrusts would do. Oh God. It's so easy. It's so wild. It went right through the lung and it just kept going. It's insane. That's insane. And I barely put pressure on it. I barely put pressure on it. We're not even lunging. Look how, that was insane. I'm gonna give it some oomph and see what happens.
All right. We're gonna do an untertwear to the right side. It actually went in between the rib, under the rib cage, just, it's still going.
That's deep.
I can push my finger farther.
That's way deeper. I think the problem was the previous one, you cut into the ribs and the ribs stopped it. But on that one, if you can get that under the ribs, that would be devastating.
So that super low untertwear would be terrible. I'm going to do a draw cut because if it just touches you, it won't do damage, right? No, it's not, doesn't have the structure. So I drew like 2 inches of the blade and even that was...
Oh God, that's terrible.
And I had to stop because he was gonna fall over.
Like
if I had done a full draw.
So now I'm gonna do a push cut, which is the same as a draw, but going the other direction. We're gonna see what happens, ready? Ooh, that went so deep with almost no force. That would, look at how deep that is. I barely touched it, and that was just from a push, no cut at all. So now that we have disposed of the body, I think we can do our post-mortem on this experiment.
It was actually really surprising. I knew that swords did a lot of damage, and I was surprised about how much damage they did.
So it's one thing, like we talk about, the swords are so deadly, we did this, we did that, but we have never had the money to buy a ballistic shells dummy. And when we got one, this is a flesh analog, that's what they use to test things. It is as close as we can get without killing a person.
Organs and bones and everything.
And man, the sword just did so much damage. I don't think we give the sword enough credit.
Yeah, especially thrusting. Like I knew conceptually that it takes no force to just run somebody through, but that was even easier than I thought. Literally just like slowly extend your arm and there's no resistance at all.
Thrusting was insane. It just went in so easily. Like, and the one in the shoulder, remember we always talked about that, how that's a stopping action?
It would have stopped.
What really got to me was how easy it was to destroy somebody's freaking skull.
That was the wildest part, is we always say that the head is always the best target, and this really showed why. The skull was super fragile and vulnerable to cuts in general.
Shattered and broke and cut deep into it, and I think that the cuts that we were doing, they weren't even overpowered.
No, even just a standard, fairly low power snap cut into the skull.
It was also going through the flesh so easily. Getting to the bone was incredibly easy for most cuts.
To give the body some credit, the rib cage did an amazing job at protecting you if the blade was thick enough to catch.
The rib cage did a great job. It stopped almost every cut. And anytime we tried to cut the ribs just were like, nah, screw you.
You probably have a bruised rib, but it even didn't like shatter them or anything.
Now on the thrusts, there was a couple of times where something did crack a rib and go through, but a lot of the times ribs did catch.
Yeah, ribs are surprisingly sturdy.
So, weird tangent on this. How did this experiment make you feel?
At first, it was just, using swords to hit things is fun and interesting. And then as I took a moment and conceptualized like what this would actually do if this was a person in like an actual duel, then it suddenly became still interesting, but way more like morbid and
I started to have a hard time in the middle of it because it's a very much a flesh analog and it's bleeding. And like, I don't like breaking things. We don't do a lot of like, I'm gonna cut 1 million socks videos because I don't like waste. And so I already have a hard enough time like breaking something, but then it's like a thing that's bleeding, and it's really easy to visualize it. It's easy to visualize what you're doing or would be doing to another person, and it makes you feel weird. These are things we practice every day. We practice doing this to another person, but we also have this like barrier. We're removed from it because it's our friends.
They
and
have
it's safe,
gear,
but we're basically LARPing murderers.
There are moments in sparring where like you'll do a thing, and as you walk back to your corner, you'll take a moment and conceptualize like this thing just killed that guy.
Yeah, and you're like, oh wow, that was kind of cool, or that was a little bit, but it's never like
you can't see how in the results. And now that we compare those actions to that ballistics gel torso, moments like that, I feel like are going to be even more like crucial and somber. Be like, I can now feel what it did, and I can see what that feeling does.
I think another thing to take away from this was never do we hit that hard.
Not one time, yeah.
Because first of all, like we've never used a ballistic gel dummy. We didn't know how much force we could put into it. And second of all, we were both a little bit gun shy on it at first.
Also, our setup was pretty ratchet.
Janky, yeah, we're gonna have to do that better next time. But we were throwing medium level, sparring level cuts, not a single overpowered cut, and it was doing crazy damage.
Yeah. The only thing is the cuts to the fleshy bits where there wasn't anything in it were very bouncy offy. I think that also wasn't an accurate estimation of what it would be because there wasn't anything in there, so it was really thick.
So for the stuff, for like the shoulders and
like
stuff,
right here.
they'd be sturdier and there was a little bit more rebound. It still cut really deep when it cut in the flesh, but I think if it was an actual bit of like muscle under there, because they don't have different densities for skin.
Yeah, it's
and
all
whatever.
the same.
Yeah, so I think that would have been different.
I think doing actual cuts over there would have been worse.
More
In this, it still went very deep, but you couldn't see it as well.
Yeah, I think the other thing to note about those parts is in the middle, there was lubrication. On this, it was like skin all the way down, so it kind of got stuck. But if it was a real cut, you'd hit, and then you'd be into the tissue and the sinew and whatever, and you'd be pulling through all that stuff, and it would be more lubricated so you could keep going. Which is gross.
Gross. That was the other thing. Even pull and push cuts didn't take much to do a lot. On my draw cut, I could only move about 2 inches of the blade before he fell over, and that still cut like halfway through the blade, and the push cut was worse.
Yeah, the push cut, that would be so bad.
Especially because push cuts with structure going through are pretty easy to do, and because you're going into them, they don't move, so you get a lot of draw on that. That would be terrible.
What's interesting to me is we've now done this and tatami I think is way less forgiving than a flesh analog is. I think that we actually overestimated how hard it was to use swords when we were doing it on tatami because A, tatami isn't rigid, it's very floppy, and B, it's got a harder like textile strength than skin does. It just sailed through skin. It was insane.
Even just that torso was like 40, 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And a person is like 3 or 4 times that. And having that weight to push your weight into it would change so much.
So, TLDR, we both grossed ourselves out and realized how easy it is to murder our fellow man.
Swords are even more effective than we thought, and we already thought they were effective.
So yeah, next time someone tells you that wouldn't work in a real fight, it definitely would.
Next time we do sparring grade, heavier cuts than we were doing there at an axe handle, don't tell us we weren't hitting hard enough.
It's gross, I need to go wash.
It's everywhere.
Hey guys, thanks for watching and we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider supporting our channel on Patreon, YouTube memberships, and also just like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm gods smile down upon us, and we'll see you in the next one.